When you think of the world's largest automakers, Toyota, Volkswagen, and General Motors might spring to mind. But what if I told you there's a Chinese giant quietly closing in on them? A company so huge, it owns or influences car brands you see every single day. This is the story of Geely, a mega corporation that started with something as mundane as refrigerator parts and ended up shaping the future of cars, from British sports icons to Swedish safety legends, and even satellite networks for driverless tech. By the time we're done, you'll see how one unlikely entrepreneur turned Geely into an empire that's rewriting the rules of the automotive world. Stick around, because this might just change how you view the cars on your street and the companies making them. To understand the full scale of Geely's rise, we need to step back to the 1980s, where a young Li Shufu set the stage for a meteoric journey that would leave the global auto industry in awe. The humble beginnings. It's the mid-1980s. A young entrepreneur named Li Shufu is tinkering with ideas on how to make a name for himself in China's rapidly changing economy. Instead of jumping straight into cars or even motorcycles, Geely's first venture was actually in the refrigerator parts business. Hard to believe, right? But as China's marketplace began opening up, manufacturing opportunities grew. By the mid-1990s, Li Shufu took a leap into something a bit more exciting: motorcycles. This shift was huge because it taught Geely how to handle mass production, navigate supply chains, and build a recognizable brand. Then came the late 1990s, when Geely did the unthinkable. It became the first private Chinese automaker to get the government's official go-ahead to produce cars. At the time, car making in China was dominated by state-owned giants. Being a private player in that industry was like being a small boat in a sea of massive ships. But Li Shufu had a larger vision, and it involved not just dominating China's roads, but also venturing onto the global stage. So, how did Geely go from zero experience in car manufacturing to making some of China's most popular vehicles? And how did they manage to stand out in such a competitive market? Up next, Geely's rapid ascent into the automotive world. The rapid ascent into automobile manufacturing. 1998 was the big year. Geely officially got the nod to build passenger cars. Imagine the excitement and the pressure on a brand new private automaker trying to carve a niche in a space where, frankly, nobody expected them to thrive. Over the next decade, Geely rolled out a series of affordable mass-market cars that appealed to China's burgeoning middle class. And let me tell you, this was a smart move. China's economy was booming. Millions of citizens were buying their first car, and Geely was right there with a lineup that fit the bill. Straightforward, reliable, and reasonably priced. But that's not where the story ends. Li Shufu, remember, was looking beyond China. He saw a future where "Made in China" wasn't a label for cheap knockoffs, but a stamp of serious quality and innovation. He wanted Geely to be recognized worldwide, and not just for budget cars. So what was Geely's strategy to go global? The answer might surprise you. They didn't just build everything from scratch. They began a wave of acquisitions and partnerships that would make headlines around the world. Let's check those out next. Acquisitions and strategic partnerships. Volvo, the game changer. When I say Volvo, you probably think of safety, reliability, and that classic Scandinavian design. In 2010, Geely stunned the automotive world by acquiring Volvo from Ford in a deal worth around $1.8 billion. Now, this was a gutsy move because Volvo had a long heritage, and many questioned if a then largely unknown Chinese company could manage a brand so tied to its Swedish roots. Fast forward to today, and it's clear that skepticism was misplaced. Volvo thrived under Geely, posting record sales, rolling out cutting-edge technology, and even spearheading safety innovations. In fact, this partnership has been cited as a model example of how a Chinese investor can nurture and expand a storied Western brand without stripping it of its identity. Lotus and Proton, expanding the portfolio. But Geely wasn't done. In 2017, they also scooped up a major stake in Lotus, the iconic British sports car maker known for its lightweight, high-performance vehicles. Think of brands like Ferrari or Lamborghini. Lotus may not be quite as massive, but it's got a hardcore fan base and an undeniable motorsport pedigree. Under Geely, Lotus began an ambitious modernization push, including electrification projects like the LEVC hypercar. At the same time, Geely grabbed a 49.9% stake in Proton, Malaysia's national car maker. This move gave Geely a solid foothold in Southeast Asia, while offering Proton access to Geely's platforms and tech. It was a classic win-win, allowing Proton to revamp its lineup and meet growing consumer expectations in that region. Polestar, embracing electric performance. You might be wondering, where does electric performance fit into all this? Enter Polestar. Originally the performance division of Volvo, Polestar split off into a dedicated brand for electric performance cars. The Polestar 2 and upcoming models like the Polestar 3 and Polestar 4 are designed to compete head-to-head with giants like Tesla, Lucid, and more. With Polestar, Geely essentially showed it had the chops to play in the EV big leagues. Polestar cars blend Volvo's engineering smarts with a unique brand identity: futuristic, clean, and performance-oriented. This is Geely's statement that it's ready to tackle the rapidly growing electric vehicle market. Lynk Co, bridging mainstream and luxury. If you're in a hip city scene, you might stumble across a brand called Lynk Co, a joint venture between Geely and Volvo. Lynk Co offers stylish, tech-heavy cars aimed at a younger crowd that loves digital connectivity and flexible ownership models, like subscription-based car sharing. Models like the Lynk Co 01, 03, 08, and 09 are popular among urban professionals who want something that feels fresh and modern, without jumping to the luxury price bracket of Volvo. In many ways, Lynk Co is the perfect testbed for new ideas in mobility. Things like short-term leasing, car subscription, or even shared ownership. It's not just about selling cars, it's about changing how we view personal transportation. The big luxury power move: stake in Daimler, Mercedes-Benz. Just when you thought Geely couldn't get any more ambitious, they swooped in and purchased nearly a 10% stake in Daimler AG, the parent company of Mercedes-Benz, in 2018. This immediately made Li Shufu one of Daimler's top shareholders. Although BAIC Group, another Chinese entity, later took a bigger chunk, Geely's investment underscored its desire to play at the top level of the global automotive game. We're talking about potential collaborations around electric vehicles, advanced driver assist systems, and more. Geely and Daimler have already teamed up to develop smart electric cars in China, focusing on zero-emissions city mobility. If that's not a power move, I don't know what is. From Volvo to Lotus, Polestar to Proton, the Geely umbrella is wide indeed. But you might be surprised to learn that's not even half the story. Let's look at the massive portfolio of brands under Geely's wing. A diverse portfolio, beyond cars. So Geely's got Volvo, Lotus, Proton, Polestar, and a significant stake in Mercedes-Benz. That alone sounds massive. But guess what? There's a whole universe of other brands and ventures under the Geely umbrella. Geely Auto and Geely Galaxy. These lines focus on a broad spectrum of consumer cars in China and select global markets. Models like the M Grand, Xingrui, Xingyu L, and Boyu have made quite a splash. The newer Galaxy range is all about clean energy solutions, battery electric and plug-in hybrids that speak to the environmentally conscious consumer. ZEEKR. Looking for premium electric cars that can go toe-to-toe with Tesla? That's ZEEKR. They launched in 2021 and already have high-end EVs like the ZEEKR 001, 009, and the X. Their vehicles sit on Geely's Sustainable Experience Architecture, SEA, which is designed to scale across multiple segments. ZEEKR is super hot in China, and rumors suggest a global expansion might be on the horizon. London Electric Vehicle Company, LEVC. Ever taken one of those iconic black taxis in London? LEVC is behind those, now offering electric or range-extended versions. They've also branched out into electric vans and even introduced a people carrier for the Chinese market, blending British design heritage with Geely's push for electric mobility. Farizon Auto. This is Geely's commercial vehicle division, established in 2016. They focus on electric and methanol-powered vehicles, including trucks, vans, and buses. At a time when logistics and transport are racing to go green, Farizon is positioned to be a major player. Radar. If you need something a bit more rugged, Radar is Geely's electric pickup brand. Perfect for folks who need cargo capacity but also want to cut down on emissions. It's a direct response to the growing EV truck market globally. That's already a mouthful, right? But believe it or not, there are even more sub-brands, joint ventures, and special initiatives in the Geely sphere, such as Maple, Livin, EV-focused, Jidu, a joint venture with Baidu for self-driving cars, and even a ride-hailing service called Kowtow Mobility. Okay, so Geely clearly has a finger in practically every automotive pie. But what about their global investments beyond just direct ownership? Stick around to see how Geely is quietly weaving itself into the luxury and performance sectors across the globe. Strategic, global investments and partnerships. Beyond the brands they outright own or co-own, Geely also invests strategically in companies that offer new technologies or access to interesting markets. Mercedes-Benz Group, Daimler. As we mentioned, they hold about 9.7% now, having been overshadowed slightly by Beck, but still a major influence on the board. Aston Martin. Geely has taken a 17% stake in this famous British sports car brand, further expanding into the luxury performance sector. Renault Korea. Geely owns 34.02% of this operation, gaining a foothold in South Korea, one of Asia's most competitive auto markets. Horse Powertrain JV, a partnership with Renault where each holds 50%. This entity specializes in combustion engine assets, bridging the gap for markets not yet ready to go fully electric. These moves are a testament to Li Shufu's grand strategy: partnerships and cross-investments that open up new tech, market expertise, and brand cachet without having to build everything from scratch. So, we've got big brands and big investments. How do they support all this production and innovation? Let's check out Geely's massive global manufacturing footprint and R&D network next. Global manufacturing footprint and R&D capabilities. With so many brands, Geely needs an equally extensive network of factories and research hubs. Worldwide, the group operates over 30 manufacturing and assembly plants. Check out these highlights. China. Naturally, most of Geely's plants are based in China, serving the world's largest car market. Geely Auto alone has 22 production plants. Europe. Volvo Cars has facilities in Sweden and Belgium, Polestar has manufacturing in China and the US, and Lotus is upgrading its facilities in the UK. Malaysia. Proton has assembly lines there, thanks to Geely's stake. Expansion to Russia, Indonesia, Egypt. Some Geely plants operate under CKD configurations, assembling partially built vehicles to meet local market demands. But producing cars is only half the story. R&D is where the magic happens. Geely invests heavily in design studios and engineering centers across Hangzhou, Shanghai, Ningbo, Gothenburg, Coventry, California, Frankfurt, and more. Over 30,000 R&D personnel are working on everything from new EV battery tech to next-gen autonomous driving features. Volvo Cars maintains separate R&D centers in Sweden, Belgium, and the US, fueling safety and sustainability innovations. Lotus has engineering centers in the UK, US, and China, focusing on performance vehicles and EV conversions. This global R&D footprint is a strategic advantage, letting Geely tap into local talent pools, technology hotspots, and design cultures around the world. No wonder they're churning out so many cutting-edge vehicles across multiple brands. And speaking of cutting edge, let's zoom in on Geely's obsession with battery production, autonomous driving, and even satellites. Yes, satellites. Investing in the future. Batteries, autonomous tech, and satellites. Geely isn't just an automaker, it's becoming a full-fledged technology juggernaut. Let's unpack some of the biggest future-focused initiatives. Battery production. Geely is building massive battery plants, aiming for a 42 gigawatt-hour capacity in China. They have a joint venture with CATL, a big name in battery manufacturing, ensuring a steady and cost-effective supply of EV batteries. They're also exploring next-gen battery tech like solid-state and have another subsidiary, Yawning Technology, working on large-scale LFP battery plants. Autonomous driving. Many Geely models now feature advanced driver assistance systems, ADAS. They partner with Volvo and Waymo on self-driving solutions. And the brand is developing its own full-domain AI for smart vehicles system under the banner G-Pilot, rolling out incremental levels of autonomy in future models. Satellite communications. Perhaps the biggest jaw-dropper is GSpace, Geely's aerospace arm. They're launching a low-Earth orbit LEO satellite constellation called GEESATCOM, aimed at supporting autonomous vehicle infrastructure, precise navigation, and global connectivity. They've already launched 30 satellites, with more on the horizon. By 2025, they plan to have 72 satellites, eventually scaling to a whopping 240. That would give Geely near-global coverage to power its next-gen mobility solutions. This trifecta of battery tech, autonomy, and satellite comms places Geely in a unique position to dominate not just car manufacturing, but the entire ecosystem of connected transportation. They're basically building the road to the future, quite literally. So we see the innovation, but you might be asking, how big is Geely financially? And what impact are they having on the global market? Let's crunch some numbers in our next section. Scale and financial power. Just how big is Geely? Alright, let's talk numbers. The best way to measure just how massive Geely has become. In 2024, Geely Holding Group sold a total of 3,336,534 units, marking a 22% year-on-year increase. That's huge. But the real kicker is that 45% of those were electrified or clean alternative fuel vehicles, indicating Geely's serious push into greener mobility. Over at Geely Automobile Holdings, the part that's publicly listed, they reported a record revenue of more than 240 billion RMB, around $33 billion in 2024, a 34% jump from the previous year. Net profits skyrocketed by an impressive 213%, landing at 16.6 billion RMB. Clearly, their strategy of brand diversification, EV ramp-up, and global expansion is paying off. By March 2025, the company's market capitalization hovered between $21.6 billion and $22.9 billion. That's enough to secure a spot in the Fortune Global 500, where Geely is ranked 229th as of 2022. They're also recognized as the 8th most valuable auto portfolio brand globally by Brand Finance. And if we talk cumulative sales, Geely Holding Group has sold more than 12 million units worldwide by April 2022, an astonishing figure for a company that was making refrigerator parts a few decades ago. These numbers don't just show that Geely is big, they show that Geely is influential. Let's see how that influence plays out in shaping the global automotive market. Impact on the global automotive market. Geely's rise tells a larger story about the Chinese automotive industry as a whole. For years, Chinese cars were often written off by global consumers. But Geely has turned that perception on its head, proving a Chinese carmaker can offer world-class quality, styling, and technology. By blending Swedish safety, Volvo, British performance, Lotus, Malaysian market insight, Proton, and even German luxury know-how via Daimler, Geely shows that automotive excellence isn't limited by borders. They're effectively bridging East and West, taking the best of each region's auto heritage and rolling it into a single, far-reaching enterprise. This isn't just a business coup, it's a cultural shift. Geely is reshaping how we think about Chinese brands on a global scale, and they're nudging other Chinese automakers to up their game too. The net result? More competition, better technology, and a global automotive market that's increasingly open to innovation from all corners of the planet. So where does Geely go from here? They've got a knack for forward-thinking moves, and that's exactly what we'll explore next. Geely's bold future outlook on electrification, autonomy, and beyond. Future outlook. What's next for Geely? Geely's roadmap is packed with ambitions. They aim to remain at the forefront of electrification, with brands like ZEEKR and Polestar continuing to roll out new EVs, from luxury sedans to hypercars. Meanwhile, the broad push into intelligent mobility includes satellite-assisted self-driving networks that could eventually allow for Level 4 or Level 5 autonomy on public roads. Additionally, Geely's interest in next-gen propulsion isn't limited to just batteries. They're also exploring methanol and other alternative fuels under divisions like Farizon. And let's not forget the possibility of future air mobility. Flying cars, anyone? If there's a way to move people or cargo sustainably and profitably, odds are Geely is either researching it or planning to do so soon. At this point, you might be thinking, wow, Geely has come such a long way so fast. What's the bottom line? Let's wrap up everything we've learned and see if we can't glean some final insights about Geely's global standing. Conclusion and final thoughts. From manufacturing refrigerator parts in the 1980s to becoming a global automotive powerhouse, Geely's journey is nothing short of extraordinary. They've built a sprawling empire of brands, from the high-tech wonders of ZEEKR and Polestar to iconic names like Volvo and Lotus, all while pushing the boundaries in satellite communications, autonomous driving, and battery production. And remember, this isn't just about making cars, it's about shaping the future of mobility, whether that's building greener trucks with Farizon, revolutionizing urban transport with the LEVC black cabs, or developing entire satellite constellations to power next-gen vehicle connectivity. Geely stands as a prime example of how Chinese companies are rising to international prominence, not by copying, but by innovating. They've shown the world that with the right strategic moves, global collaborations, and deep technological investments, a once modest enterprise can become a genuine contender among automotive titans. So, the next time you see a Volvo cruising down the road, a futuristic Polestar zipping by, or hop into an electric London cab, remember, there's a high chance Geely is the driving force behind it all. I hope you enjoyed this deep dive into how big and how influential Geely has become. If you found this video helpful or interesting, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.